Deep within the emerald shadows of the Indonesian archipelago, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of damp earth and ancient rot, there lies a secret whispered only by the brave. The jungle is not just a collection of trees, it is a breathing entity that remembers everything. Here, the boundaries between the living and the dead blur like ink in the rain. Tonight, we journey into the heart of darkness to uncover a legend that defies logic, a tale of forbidden connection between the Jenglot, a small but terrifying blood-drinking creature, and the guardian serpents of the forest. Prepare yourself, for once you enter these woods, the silence is never truly silent.
Many of you have heard of the Jenglot. It is a creature often described as a tiny, mummified human-like being with long, tangled hair and needle-sharp fangs. Local shamans say they are not born, but rather found, often emerging from the earth after years of dark meditation or failed black magic. They are hungry, not for food, but for the essence of life, fresh blood. But what few realize is that the Jenglot is never truly alone. It is bound by a spectral leash to the most dangerous inhabitants of the undergrowth, the forest snakes. These serpents are not merely animals, they are the vessels for spirits that have protected these lands for centuries. Imagine a giant python, its scales shimmering with an iridescent, oily sheen under the moonlight. This is no ordinary predator. In the folklore of the deep forest, these snakes are believed to be the consorts of the Jenglot. While the Jenglot represents the stagnant, parched remnants of a soul, the snake represents the fluid, predatory power of the wild. Together, they form a symbiotic nightmare. The snake provides the mobility and the reach, while the Jenglot provides the supernatural malice. Villagers often report seeing a small figure riding atop a massive serpent, gliding through the grass as if they were a single, terrifying organism.
Our story begins with a man named Andy, an urban explorer who thought he had seen everything. Armed with only a flashlight and a camera, he ventured deep into the forbidden zones of the East Java forests. He was looking for ruins, but he found something far older. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the temperature plummeted and the forest sounds changed. The chirping of birds was replaced by a rhythmic clicking sound, like bone tapping against bone. Andy followed the noise to a clearing where the trees seemed to lean away from a central stone altar, covered in dried moss and something darker.
At the altar, Andy saw it, a Jenglot, barely 6 inches tall, sitting upright. Its eyes were hollow pits that seemed to absorb his flashlight's beam. But it wasn't the creature that made his blood freeze. It was what lay coiled around the base of the altar, a king cobra of impossible proportions. Its hood flared, not in aggression, but in a protective embrace. The snake's tongue flicked the air, tasting the fear radiating off the intruder. Andy realized he had stumbled upon a ritual site, a place where the physical world bleeds into the spirit realm, and where the Jenglot drinks from the power of the serpent.
The air grew thick with the smell of ozone and sulfur. The Jenglot began to move, its stiff, mummified limbs creaking like old wood. It reached out a tiny clawed hand and touched the snake's head. In that moment, a low hum vibrated through the ground, shaking the very roots of the trees. A pale, ghostly light emanated from the point of contact, illuminating the terrifying beauty of their connection. This was the Cinta Hantu, a love not based on emotion, but on a shared hunger for existence. They were two halves of a broken curse, seeking wholeness in each other's shadows.
Terrified, Andy tried to back away, but his feet felt heavy, as if the mud had turned to lead. The clicking sound grew louder, syncing with his own heartbeat. The forest had gone completely still. Not a leaf rustled, not an insect buzzed. It was the silence of a tomb. He watched as the Jenglot's eyes began to glow with a faint, sickly yellow light, mirrored exactly by the eyes of the serpent. They were communicating in a language older than words,
a psychic link that bridged the gap between the skeletal remains of a man and the primal instincts of a beast.
Legends say that those who witness this union are marked for life. The Jenglot's curse is not a quick death, but a slow fading. As Andi fled into the darkness, losing his equipment and his way, he felt a coldness spreading from his chest to his limbs. He could feel the eyes of the forest watching him, not just from one direction, but from everywhere. The trees themselves seemed to have scales, and the wind carried a sound like a slithering body over dry leaves. He was no longer a visitor, he was prey, caught in the web of a story he was never meant to hear. Days later, Andi was found wandering the edge of a village, his hair turned white and his eyes wide with a permanent stare of horror. He couldn't speak, but he kept drawing the same image in the dirt, a small skeleton fused with a coiled snake. The elders knew exactly what he had seen. They spoke of the Penjaga Hutan, the guardians of the woods who punish those who disrespect the sanctity of their ancient bond. The Jenglot and the snake are the balancing force of the jungle, the death that feeds the life and the life that protects the dead.
Even today, travelers are warned to stay on the beaten paths and never to follow the clicking sounds into the deep thickets. The love between the Jenglot and the Serpent is a reminder that some things are better left undisturbed. They represent the mysteries that science cannot explain and the fears that live in the marrow of our bones. When the moon is full and the mist rises from the forest floor, some say you can still see them, a tiny, dark figure and a long, graceful shadow, moving together as one through the eternal night of the Indonesian wild.
What is it about these stories that fascinates us so? Perhaps it is the realization that we are not the masters of this world. There are forces far older and more patient than humanity. The Jenglot and the forest snake are symbols of the untamed, the parts of nature that refuse to be categorized or conquered. Terrifying. We look into the darkness, and the darkness looks back, wearing the face of a mummified spirit and the scales of a king.
Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey into the heart of the forest. If this story made your skin crawl or your heart race, then our mission is accomplished. The world is full of legends waiting to be told, and the shadows have many more secrets to share. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on the mystical, the macabre, and the unexplained. Keep your lights on, and remember, the next time you hear a rustle in the grass, it might just be more than the wind. Stay safe out there, and see you in the next nightmare.